Hi everyone, I apologize dearly for the mess that I am, but I just finished reading The Seven Husbands of Evelyn and Hugo, and this is the state I am in. But I wanted to film this intro just to let you know what this video will be about, and also letting you know generally what I thought about the novel. I loved it, clearly, but I think at this point I wrote a Twitter thread, which if I can I will be linking in the description box. I'm not sure if that's possible, but to sum it up, I said how I felt that this book is very much needed at this point, looking at the state of the world, but also very much needed for me personally. So this novel had a great impact on me, and if you are not sure about reading it, definitely pick it up, because I feel like even if you don't end up loving it as much as everyone else seems to, you will see aspects of it that are so important, especially right now. So I knew, and I know now for sure, that I will not be able to express my thoughts coherently in that manner, but I thought I would do it with, as the title tells you, an annotation flip through of the novel. So if you have not read the book, this might be the point where you go read it and then come back to the video, because there will be obvious spoilers for like the plot, because I'm going through the whole book and show you my annotations, not like page per page, but show you my annotations and how I annotate. And then I will also go into my thoughts, of course, through that. So if you want to keep watching for a little bit to see how I annotate, I will let you know once I think you should maybe switch off and come back once you've read it. So yeah, this is what I'm going to do, and I hope you enjoy it, and I apologize again for the mess and for the shakiness. I'm trying to find a position where I can easily turn off the video, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed the flip through, and I hope you enjoyed the book. If you have read it, or if you plan to read it, please let me know, and I will see you in my flip through then. Okay, so here we are. This is obviously the book, and here are my pens. I use like a regular, just this one is blue pen, and to underline information and stuff like that, and a purple marker to mark all the beautiful quotes. And beautiful quotes and beautiful writing doesn't mean just flowery writing, by the way. So yes, if you would like to see how I annotate, I think you can stay for a little bit. I will let you know once you can turn off if you don't want to be spoiled. I love that little dedication to her daughter, so I put a smiley face on here. And I think here with this front page, or like first page, you can see how I annotate pretty well. And here, like, if there's new information, I usually circle it, like names or any important informations, or like how she was called, like film legend and it girl and stuff like that. I usually also underline information, and here I was giving an assumption because I thought her daughter Connor was going to be related to someone somehow, but you know, It was an assumption, I guess. Again, here I circled more information, more names, as well as here. Here it's just like underlining. Here's just like the 2 lines where I think there's something very important. I apologize for the shadows, but that's the lighting. Again, here, for example, I circled Debbie because Debbie is the person who made me read it, so I thought it was funny to see her name early on. And sometimes I just write snarky comments and stuff like that. And so I was convinced that Connor will be ending up to be Monique's mom. So there's that. Here, for example, I underlined or circled her age. So yeah, where can I show you here? Here is how I underline beautiful quotes. This one is, I don't feel regret for the things I've done, at least not the things you might expect, despite how hard they may have been or how repugnant they may seem in the cold light of day. So yeah, this is just generally how I annotate. So I think now would be a good time for those of you who don't want to be spoiled for the book to turn off. I will see you back once you've read that book. It is worth it, and yeah. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you should turn off now. So okay, I hope you turn off. Here I wrote a lot of silly comments in here, and not so much like I did a lot of reflecting, but as well, but I also wrote snarky comments and just emojis. You will see that. But here, like, this online magazine was called the Spill, and I would like to spill the tea, you know. And I wrote down that I loved how they adapted the language perfectly of the people talking in those types of magazines. Here I noted that there was a rundown of her relationships, and I put quick in, like, you know, because it was not really quick. So I quoted quick. Here she was talking about her relationship, or Monique's relationship, with David, and I feel like a lot of people were not so on board with Monique's point of view, but I feel like I resonated with it a lot, and I liked her a lot, and I found her point of view interesting as well. Of course, it wasn't as captivating as Evelyn's, but you have to keep in mind that her storyline played a very important role as well. And I found it very funny that she already started asking herself questions like a true journalist. Yeah, it's just like some relatable moments. Like, I tap to respond and I'm lost in my attempts to probably type the word early without autocorrect, changing it to earthquake, which is so me. Here we like have Evelyn tell her what she really wanted to do. And I was like really, really up to it. Here's the quote I quoted earlier. I was very up to it. Here another one. You can't be sorry about something you can be sorry about something and not regret it. Here I was also very I'm a mess, I'm sorry, very up to it, because it said make them pay you what they will pay a white man, and I was living for that. Another good quote was, isn't that the very definition of power, watching people kill themselves over something that means nothing to you? Which, you know, fits the tone of our world right now. Yeah. And I really love that anecdote about her father, like Monique's father. So I thought I would circle that in. That's something I do. Here you see again that circling of a new name appearing. So here it was like really taking in new information. I also love these like chapter or like section pages. And here is something I do a lot, is make clear I know what is happening or like going on. So I wrote down, because I was not used to the narrative just now, that now Evelyn is talking and telling her story herself. Here's another great quote. You run toward a world that is moral and just, where the good guys win and the bad guys lose, but the pain you face is only an effort to make you stronger, so that you can win that much bigger in the end. It just like that shows how beautiful the writing is. So yeah, it was really at this point just taking in information. And here we have the quote that probably is my favorite out of this book. Having lost the battle, I resolved to win the war. I could get that tattooed. So yeah, and here's another great quote. There will be lots of quoting here, because I think that's just another gorgeous piece of writing. The husband who's really just a new version of your father, surrendering to him in bed when it's the last thing you want to do, making only biscuits and canned corn for dinner because you don't have money for meat. And here I usually like the end pages. Also here's a new name. The end pages, or like the space at the end of a chapter to reflect. And here I wrote that I love that Evelyn wasn't always the nice girl and realizes that she did things that could make her less likable, and by doing and admitting that, she becomes likable, if that makes any sense. And then I wrote down that I like how the perspective switches back to Monique, and sometimes I just find things funny. So I write down funny things, but this chapter was not funny for me. It was actually quite hard to get through, but I made it, and I think it's an important chapter. Here's a great quote saying, there are people who see a beautiful flower and rush over to pick it. They want to hold it in their hands, they want to own it. They want the flower's beauty to be theirs, to be within their possession, their control. I think that describes people in a very good fashion. Here, I was very proud of Evelyn for sticking up for herself and not just being super onto Don and letting him know that she fancied him, but like letting him work for it. So yeah, and here I wrote a marriage proposal that escalated quickly because, well, it did. I also really liked the newspaper cutouts. here I was super confused about Harry, because I thought, well, didn't they marry? And wow, how did I not like, yeah. Oh well, I was confused then. And here it says we were married for 2 months before he started hitting me. And I was like, of course, this is going to be okay. Here I was again very happy about that quote. Be wary of men with something to prove, because that is something you have to take notes on. I was very angry at Don a lot of times and throughout the whole novel. So I wrote, go choke, you idiot. I was swearing a lot in this. Here again, idiot. So like it was a lot of, you see, a lot of swearing. Because I just hated Don, and Harry said I will kill him, and I was like, same. Because, yeah. So, and here we have Celia introduced. I will call her Celia. I don't know how you pronounce that name, but that's what I'm pronouncing it. Like, yeah, I was very conflicted at first with how everything started. Here's another great quote. You have to find a job that makes your heart feel big instead of one that makes you feel small. Which is basically why I changed my studies. And here's just a sweet little moment between the two. So that's when I write heart emojis. And here, like, this is Celia talking, or Celia, I guess. And I was like, but also, is she flirting or is that just me? And it was like looking back now, boy, if only I knew then. So that has been going on. So here we have Robert mentioned for the first time, and I was shocked because I thought, well, it was her last husband, so that must mean something. Again. And here was like, I see it coming, and I'm like, of course. And here I said, listen, if they don't become a thing, I'm mad. Luckily they did, but I was not prepared to have my heart broken by it. So I was like living for it. This is one of my other favorite quotes. It says, people think that intimacy is about sex, but intimacy is about truth. When you realize you can tell someone your truth, when you can show yourself to them, when you stand in front of them bare, and with their response is, you're safe with me. That's intimacy. So I was living for them having their moment, and then Don stepped in and ruined it again. So I was mad. So like I was hooked right then. So I was just like, at this point, just really wanting them to get together. Like, as you can see, I was just living for it. Like, she said that Celia was because it's a Celia, right? Yeah, so it's Celia. Was the love of her life, and I was shocked. And here, like, the most relatable statement ever. I'm bisexual. Don't ignore half of me so you can fit me into a box. Like, can I carry that around and show to people? So I was living at this point because I was still mad at Dawn and very oblivious to what will be happening in the future. And I was like, I'm leaving Dawn. And I was like, me too. So I was ready. As you can see, I was definitely ready. So it was great. I was living. See, I was living. Like, if only I knew. But oh well. Also, again, great writing. Heartbreak is lost. Divorce is a piece of paper. So, I don't know. If something is true, it's true. See, I was so excited about it. And then this dropped. Evelyn wants me for something, and she wants it bad. And now I'm finally starting to suspect that I should be scared too. I should be scared. And I was like, now I'm scared. And here's like an inside joke that probably just Swiss people will get, because Mike Riva reminded me of Mike Shiva, but no one watching this probably knows who that is, but it was funny to me. I was still really living it, as you can see, very great. And if I find a person who tells me that nothing means anything without you, she said, everything that isn't you is a pile of dog shit. So, like, can someone tell me that? I was so happy. I was like, get it. I was, although not really happy about this one. But oh well, we know how that ended. Like, I was living. I didn't think it could get bad anyway, because I was that naive. Great quote here, but it went downhill from here. I would give it all up, you know, all of it. The money and the jobs and the fame. I would give it all up just to be with you, just to be normal with you. Which is just the sweetest thing. But yeah, it just went downhill. But here we have the thing where she plans on hooking up with Mike to get the attention away from the two. And here I only realized why she wanted to go to Vegas with him, so they can quickly marry and then not. And here, this reflection right here. You imagine a world where the two of you can go out to dinner together on a Saturday night and no one thinks twice about it. It makes you want to cry, the simplicity of it, the smallness of it. You have worked so hard for a life so grand, and now all you want are the smallest freedoms, the daily peace of loving plainly. Tonight feels like both a small and a high price to pay for that life. And this is the sort of reflection I loved so much in this book. So, yeah. We still have a lot to go, right? So I will probably skip a little bit. Here's when they fought. So I was sobbing at this point. And here she said that they didn't speak for 5 years, which broke me. But when she went to Harry and she mentioned this quote, "You don't know how fast you have been running, how hard you have been working, how truly exhausted you are, until someone stands behind you and says, 'It's okay, you can fall down now, I will catch you.'" And I love that a lot. So we have like the Rex chapters now. I find it funny that the maid was called, do you say maid? Louisa, because Louisa was or is the name of my mom. That's how she's called, and I found it really funny. Like here it's another reflection I really appreciated. I just really like this. And then when here I was shocked about Celia, or Celia, marrying a man, because I was again oblivious to literally everything. And here was like, well, I missed Celia, and I was like, fuck yeah, we miss her too. Another great quote: "Never let anyone make you feel ordinary." Another great quote: "You of all people should know that you can't tell a single thing about a person's true character if you both want the same thing. It's like a dog and a cat getting along because they both want to kill the mouse." Again, just beautiful writing. Well, yeah. Here we have the thing about Joy, like Rex actual girlfriend or partner being pregnant. Also, I think I might skip that part where Evelyn got pregnant, which was also heartbreaking. That's by default earlier. And I was like living again once they Celia and Evelyn caught up, and she told her what was really going on. See, here I also wrote where she talked to Ruby, and Ruby told her that she was hit by Don too, and Evelyn told Monique that she was not, like, as it says, she was not interested in having a log of her victims, of the things that she could have done differently. But if she would have to, she would put Ruby on there simply because of not telling people about the way Don treated her, so it could prevent how he treated Ruby. And that's just a type of reflection I really loved. So I was like really living it, loving everything, and then it says, I have no idea that in less than a week Evelyn Hugo will finish her story and I will find out what this has all been about, and I will hate her so much that I will be truly afraid I might kill her. And I was not prepared for that, apparently. So I pretended I just ignored that. And here she talked about like the dress and the memories she had with that dress, and I reflected that I can relate heavily to that feeling of having a memory attached to a piece of clothing. Yeah, so that's what I was reflecting there. Here I was just crying because I thought everything was going to be fine. Apparently not. And here they were talking like about the Stonewall riots and about all of that. And here is just a great quote, like the political involvement. And here it's just a very powerful quote. And I started crying when I realized those men were willing to fight for a dream I had never even allowed myself to envision, a world where we could be ourselves without fear and without shame. Those men were braver and more helpful than I was. There were simply no words for it. So I wrote here that I love how it relates to real events, and how it made me want to Google for their pictures campaigning when I realized they aren't real characters. And here I just wrote down, we love a good self-reflecting queen, because that was like the whole thing here for me. And it was just like, we got hurt again. It was like, we're up, we're going down. We're up, we're going down. It was like the whole book. So that's like basically how I ended up annotating the rest of it, like all hearts or smiley faces. And like, I love that sentiment that she felt like Celia gave her that baby. It was just so cute. Like, I was loving life, thinking everything will be fine. Dawn stepped in and was like not having it again. But yeah, it turned out fine. And then we have that where she said she's going to ruin it again. I was like, not again. So my heart was broken once more, as you can see. I was shook. I was not having it that they broke up again, and that was like the severe breakup, and I was not having that. Yeah, and he was very scared, because like Monique said, you don't seem so bad, Evelyn, and she said, you of all people are going to change your mind about that, and I was not having that. And then John died, which is horrible, and I knew that from now on it will go downhill. But like then I thought maybe it could get a little better, you know, with Max turning up, but well, not really, huh? If you have read the book. But I was a little bit happy for a small time. Then I saw the chapter heading and I was like, well, great, this is not going to end well then. As I wrote here. And there you can see it. And here are the letters like they wrote each other. And I was sobbing all throughout it. Like, all throughout it. Then I was happy again. As you can see. Super happy. Super happy. Yeah, that didn't last long. Because, yeah. About the illness, and I was sobbing once more. Like, I just couldn't be happy for so long, right? I just had to have my heart ripped out. Especially here, we have the scene where Harry dies, and I was not having that. Like, when I'm feeling emotional, I don't really want to cry, even though I did here. But I annotate heavily, so I can just write out or emoji out my emotions. But it didn't help. It wrecked me nonetheless. So that now we have like the last thing. Where they were in Spain, and I thought like, oh, it's just going to end up well, like it's just going to be all nice and nothing will happen. And like the part where they married, like Celia and Evelyn, it was just the most adorable thing ever, and I was so happy. And then she died. Like, I was super happy here, super sad here. Like, that's just how the book went. And it was just heartbreaking. And like, then we got that, and I was shook. And then we got the revelation that Harry was in love with Monique's father, and I was not sure why I didn't see that coming. But it obviously left me shook. Not because, like, the fact that they were together, obviously, but more of the fact that I knew what that meant for Monique, and I was shook, and what that meant for the relationship between Evelyn and Monique. So the end was just me sobbing. I don't know if you can see like actual tears, because I sobbed onto the pages. Like, here I was like between being happy and being heartbroken, because I knew it was a choice she had to make, that she wanted to end her life the way she wants it, and not like that, but like this is the end. But yeah, it was very tough towards the end, especially like, where is it? Here, when she said, and it could occurs to me that it is the very thing that made her that will be the thing to finally take her down. And I was just like, throughout all of this, just sobbing. But it was like a bittersweet ending. Like, it was not all well, but it still was all well, if that makes sense. So yeah, definitely what a read. I carried it through university, and I'm glad I took the time to read it, and I loved it very much. So I hope you enjoyed this type of video, and I will see you soon in another one.